You have been accepted for an experiment. You must stay in a room with nothing but bed/toilet/food/water and no human contact for 1 month. If you succeed for the whole month without giving up, you get $5 million. Do you accept? And what are your coping strategies to avoid mental breakdown? 1 month in an empty room in exchange for enough money to comfortably retire on and never work again in my life. I'd take the deal. To keep sane, I'd meditate and maybe make a pillow fort or do something with the food other than eat it. I could make macaroni art on the floor. It would be challenging, but definitely worth it. Macaroni art. You're thinking the right way. Roger agrees. Name checks out. Roger. You should check out this Minefield episode. It's harsher than it looks, but for that amount of money I'd attempt it anyway. I think I would end up playing with my food a lot to pass the time. Like that game where you get a bottle of water to stand on end, or making sculptures out of mashed potatoes, that sort of thing. If I get bored with that, I'd resort of mental mathematics. I'd also try to keep physical active, push-ups, sit-ups, etc. It might be a big factor in why depressed people are so depressed. If they don't have any friends and their only stimulation is repetitive, such as watching TV or playing video games with the same images over and over again, they could be setting up their own little isolation bubble that slowly deteriorates their well-being and sense of self over time. You found me. Nice. What do we win? Depression. As someone who suffers a lot with depression, I can definitely agree that it's a self-feeding cycle. You start to feel miserable, feel unworthy of human attention, or just feel too apathetic to bother. Then you end up isolating yourself, shutting yourself off from human contact and the outside world. A lot of the time other people don't know that you're suffering as you didn't tell them, because you genuinely believe they won't care or that it'll bother them. So often they won't come to visit you or check in on you, which only feeds that rapidly growing feeling of being neglected, worthless and uncared for. The repetitive nature of your activities fails to stimulate you properly, but the depression causes you to withdraw more and more, rather than to seek out new activities or stimulus like someone with a healthy mind would do. It's fucking horrible, and it's so easy for that cycle to suck you in and smother you before you even know what's happening. It's why whenever I feel my depression starting to creep into the corners of my mind, I force myself to exercise, to get out of the house once a day and at least tell my friends what's going on, so they can make up their mind as to whether they want to come and see me or not, and will at least check on me. I remember once watching a documentary on inmates coping with solitary. They used to screw up a bit of fabric, or use a button and close their eyes and throw it somewhere in the cell. Then, not opening their eyes, crawl around and find it as a kind of entertainment. I've always thought that was a great idea to do in a situation like this. I remember a movie in which a POW said he survived by building his dream home in his mind. Would probably try that. I would try. I'm a pretty big daydreamer, and I think that between daydreaming and sleeping, I would manage. For $5 million I would try, and I would succeed. You could put me in a pitch black room with photograph binocular back on repeat the whole month, and I'd still make it. Day 29 they turn on the night vision and see my ass with a poop hat on, still grinning from ear to ear, daydreaming about all the dope shit I'm gonna zip-zob with 11 million nickelbacks. Hope they don't have cameras. They'll see me doing 25% cringy rap with exaggerated hand movements, 25% daydreaming, 45% sleeping, 4% masturbating, and 1% eating and showering. 4% masturbating, those are rookie numbers. You gotta get those numbers up. I think $5 million for a month would entice me to give it a go, and I imagine the thought of that much money would motivate me to stick it out. But I'm aware of the effects of solitary confinement and how it can have lasting effects on you. I spend most of my time alone, so the lack of people wouldn't bother me, I don't think. However, I don't spend all my time alone just eating, drinking, sleeping, and staring at four walls, which I would be doing in the experiment. That would be tough. Edit. I also think a difficult aspect of the experiment would be not knowing what's happening in the world around you. With information always seconds away with our devices, a month without that information at our fingertips would be irritating, in my opinion. The lack of information gives me an idea. In addition to the original stipulations, you also have no windows or anything to the outside. You can control the lights manually, but have no idea if it's daylight outside at any given time. You can request food at any time, or have a 60+ day supply, if it's fully self-contained. You may choose to end the experiment at any time, but you only get the $5 million if it's been 30 days. There is no prompt or indication when the 30 days actually ends. You must choose to end it at some point. I could probably sleep without a bed, so I would tear it apart and use the shreds to make a village out of dolphin people. I could color them somewhat using the food and water to spice things up. After the village is complete, I would convince myself that I'm a dolphin too, and would make whale noises for the next 4 weeks as I attempt to learn their language. If I'm lucky, I might even get a job as a shell slinger at the local stadium. Happy Cake Day. What the F? This is my favorite comment in the whole thread. This is beautiful. All other responses are methods to avoid going nuts, but you would just jump into the crazy pool head first. Fight fire with crazier fire. I think I would start talking to all of the hallucinations I would start having. I would probably do a lot of stuff that involved moving my muscles and touching the walls/floor, so I don't feel so alone. I think physical exercise would be a good way to pass time for part of the day. Yeah, and as far as the coping part, there is always the $5 meal to think about. So much planning to be done, lol. The planning alone would fill majority of my time. Fashion some sort of dye out of whatever food item could be appropriate, rig up a pen using cardboard from the toilet paper tubes, and start writing plans on shit tickets. I would try to vividly remember everything I've ever liked. I'd think of songs, books, and movies I like and try to dissect what I like about them, and how they relate to other things and what they mean to me. Greatest hits of memories. Think of the future. Think about what kind of life I want to live when I get out. Try to prioritize what means the most to me, and plan what steps I can take when I get out to make what I've been thinking about a reality. I think it's doable if you know it's only a month and there is a reward at the end. When people go crazy from isolation, it tends to be because they have no idea if or when it will end. Even if it does end, the future still tends to be bleak. The hopeless is what gets you, not the isolation. Seriously, just the thought of the $5 million would make me so excited and optimistic about my future. And 30 straight days of no work. Sign me up, lol. You could subsist for a day or two alone on what you'll spend the money on when you get out. It only takes like 2 seconds to think of. See, what are you talking about? A lot of push-ups, running in place, masturbation, meditation, and trying to recall specific memories in detail. I'd try to think about specific things I've learned in a lot of detail. I'd do a lot of praying. I think I'd try to teach lessons out loud or practice speeches, make up songs/poems/dirty limerick/jokes, etc. I'd try to take a topic such as outer space and recall everything that I know on this topic. I'd also daydream a lot and probably rant about things that had troubled me in the past. I would not be ashamed or afraid to speak out loud. Why do I feel like you already do all of this? Yeah, he kinda just described a normal day for me. People that don't realize how difficult it would actually be. I'm sure it would be difficult as hell, but for 5 meters, I feel like I'd have to at least give it a try. Here's a more interesting twist to this question. What's the smallest amount of money that you would attempt this for? Sure, you would try it for 5 million. But would you do it for 1 million? For 100,000? For 10,000? Where do you draw the line? To say no, that's not enough money to get me to try that. See, that's the question. Like, if you can just attempt it, but you get to leave with no repercussions, then I'd do it for like 0.500k. The only thing you're looking at is a waste of time at some point. If you are committed and you can't leave, that changes the calculus. I'd probably want higher, because 30 days with no stimulation sounds insane. Like unlimited food of my choosing? I think if I could do that, I'd be okay. I spent 16 hours in a detox cell after getting a DWI though, and I was already counting and recounting bricks and getting a little anxious by the time I got out. Every time they brought food, I felt a little relief. I think it would be tougher than people think. There's that scene from Count of Monte Cristo where one prisoner says something to the effect of, "There are 1,347 bricks in my cell. I've counted them many times," and the other, much older, prisoner says, "But have you named them yet, Edmund? There are 72,519 stones in my walls. I've counted them many times, Abbe Ferrier, but have you named them yet? As long as I could wash too. Because you don't mention a bath. Without that wouldn't be a deal breaker to me trying it, but would probably be what caused me to quit." Try to not count the days, just let them pass. I'd try to sleep as long as possible. Definitely take really long to do basic things like use the bathroom, eat, clean up, to pass the time. Try to keep everything uniform by making a designated area for dirty plates. Make my bed military style to keep me sane. Probably try not to repeat the same process over and over, or it'll get repetitive and I'll start to go crazy.